Hey folks, we're going to pick up where we left off in the first pen video and come into a little more detail of the partner tools of that pen tool and a few other techniques that'll be helpful for us. I now realize why I have these shapes on the right side of this document. It's for this part of our video training, so good thing it's there. So we talked earlier about the pen tool and how to draw basic shapes. Now we're going to look at the add anchor, delete anchor, and the anchor point tool. These are the three that are tucked in underneath the pen tool itself in the toolbar. And you can see the little shortcuts for them. The plus sign on your number pad will bring up the add anchor. The minus sign will bring the delete anchor. And then if you do Shift C, that'll activate your anchor point tool. And these are all little subtools that you'll be using quite regularly to make your shapes more elaborate, or perhaps to simplify them and just get closer to what it is that you're looking for. And first one, the add anchor point tool works for paths that are selected. Right now, I don't have any path that's selected, but what I'd like to do is just focus on this square first. So I'm gonna zoom in, we're gonna look at this square. If I select it, and notice I didn't go to my selection tool to grab it, I just held down Command real quick and it turned it into my selection tool. And then I can click on it and let go of Command, and we're selected and back to the pen tool. So the plus sign allows us to add anchors along any segment in between other anchor points. So if I wanted to add a point along the top, all I have to do is just click somewhere on that line, and I end up adding a new point, which has divided that one segment into two. Why is this cool or helpful? Because I know that then I can select that point with my direct selection tool, and I could modify this shape. I'll zoom out just a little bit and make a house, or whatever kind of new polygon form that we might be interested in. And that was just all done simply by adding a point. And I could add as many points as I wanted. If I just hit the plus sign on my keyboard, I'll get the tool back. I could add two segments to the right side, grab the direct selection tool, and start to just create something that is a little more dynamic than just a square. The tool itself will activate while you are on the standard pen tool. So I just went back to the standard pen tool. I have this object selected, and as soon as I pass over the path, you should see that the pen icon turns to a plus sign, and I can just do a quick addition of segments or anchors. Oops, this is a good example. I didn't quite click on the path, and so now now it's going, hey, do you want to make a new one? You got to be very aware of what's going on. You'll say no, you'll hit escape, and you still have a point there. Then you should hit delete and get rid of it. Or you can go through your undos if that's something they feel better for. But there is a sort of a tolerance, like how far away from this path can I actually, get this tool to work. So you do need to pay attention to that. Now I've got several new points, and I can, make some shape. It kind of actually is starting to look like the dog again. How funny! I guess I got dogs on my brain. So the pen tool will activate the add anchor tool as soon as you pass over a path, or you can just get it yourself by going to the toolbar or using one of your shortcuts to get it. The next tool we'll look at is the delete anchor tool, and I'll just move on to the next shape, which is this circle. So the circle also needs to be selected in order for us to modify this. And the delete anchor tool specifically says what it will delete, and it's an anchor. So you can only delete anchors. You can't delete segments, right? So I have to pass over one of these points. If I click on it, it'll delete it from the object and the mark. And now I have a three-pointed shape, an orb that almost kind of looks like more than full moon. I guess I could consider it that. So you can delete as many points along a path as you wish. Maybe you're just trying to clean it up. Maybe it's excessively littered with points, and you're just looking to kind of get a little bit more of a managed hand onto it. That's cool. If I delete, so we're down to just 2 points now. If I delete one of them, I'm left with just 1 point, and you don't have any artwork with 1 point. There's no segments for it to understand how to draw a line or to fill a color. So these moments are just kind of worthless. I may as well just go undo and get it back to where it was. Our third shape here we have, I brought in here just to kind of illustrate a little further how the subtract or minus, delete, whatever anchor tool can benefit us. I have this cross, and I added a point at the top, bottom, left, and right sides. So what happens if I start to delete the corners? I'm having a new form here, and you can kind of understand now why and how this delete anchor tool could be beneficial for you. And I also just want you to try these out, okay? So you have the add and anchor tools, okay? They are also something that you might not want to pop up automatically. So you can go to preferences, general, and you can disable the auto add and delete. So if I have that checked, the pen tool then will not automatically jump to the plus or minus sign when I pass over segments or points. And that's something that is totally cool. Here's the selection and anchor display. The tolerance is how far away you are from that line or that point in order to add it. So if you feel like you're not quite nailing the click, and you're always getting the little warning thing that says, hey, you need to click on a point or click on a segment, you can increase your tolerance here in the preferences. Remember that video that you were supposed to watch at the beginning of class? It has stuff valuable. The last one is the anchor point tool itself. This guy is pretty interesting. If I select this bottom shape and approach an anchor by clicking and dragging, you can see that depending on if I drag left or right, I get a new instruction for that point of how to curve those segments upon entering and exiting the point on its left and right side. Or if I go up and down, it influences the direction of that curve. It can be really big, or I could flip it. Flipping is something that you generally don't want to do, but possibly could happen and be helpful at certain times. But if I quickly visit all of these points and drag in the same direction, which in this case is clockwise, I can have a flower. Or if I went on to the inside ones, then we start to see a shape similar to the one that we worked on in our last video, working from that star in order to create a path with Béziers. So you can take linear points that have no curve data and introduce curves to them. You can also suck the curve data right out of them by clicking on any point that has curved information. If you just click on it, it will remove it and make it a linear anchor. And you're back to something that's more of a polygon-based shape. So let's go back to our circle now. And if I was to click on one of the points, like the top one, it removes that Bezier information out of it. And I could maybe move that up, and I've got this cool sort of like droplet, right? So if you ever needed to make a droplet, you could just have a real quick circle drawn with like the shape tool and then go in with your Bezier anchor tool here and remove that information and then start to alter it with the other tools that we've already worked with. If I did it to all of them, I'd end up with a diamond. The other thing to take note of, I'm going to go back, I'm going to undo those, is that the Bezier tool not only can affect a point that has or has not curve information, but it will also allow you to work with the Bezier handles a little more independently. So notice I grabbed this top handle and it does not do it symmetrically. Now I'm editing this shape on its own according to that handle, right? Now I'm kind of in a pickle because I want the other handle. But if I click on this point, it's going to do that to me. So then I have to, well, it comes up if I undo it, which is great. But in the event that I move this one handle, hey you, come here you. If I move this handle and do a little editing, the other one's gone, I'll grab my direct selection tool, click on that point, and that other handle comes back up. Then I have to get my anchor point tool again. I can grab this one and try to do like an edit. And now I've got more like a raindrop that feels a little more curved and whatnot. So the Bezier will do a uniform symmetrical change upon clicking on a point in the first click. They kind of work together, but once you've made your edit, those handles are now independent from each other. Okay, so I'll go back to just the circle. You have the dilemma then of what if I want to edit those Bezier handles and I want them to be sort of working together. You go back to your direct selection tool. Now when I grab those handles, you do see the sort of the teeter-totter effect of the opposite handle going in the opposite direction of my drag, or well, not anymore the length, but so that's how you can maintain that sort of a thing. If you are in the direct selection tool and you want to break that, you can hold down Option or Alt, and now it kind of behaves like the Bezier or the anchor tool. But there's just a few things for you to understand and get used to as far as adding points, deleting points, working with that Bezier handle. All those tools are going to be super helpful as we begin to develop our own intricate paths and shapes for not only for our still life work, but for our project work too, and then into design work, our logos and our icons. The pen tool is so critical because it can do calculated and more precise forms, and that's good stuff for us digital designers. All right, thank you, and we'll move on. Take care.